But Donald Trump is the racist authoritarian for trying to reduce crime in D.C. Think about how whacked that is.
Listen, Michael, what you don't understand is every time someone is shot in Navy Yard, each of those bullets says climate change on the side of it. Okay?
Yeah.
You don't understand. That's why they're doing it. They're doing it because of climate change.
The overturning of home rule in and of itself appears to be filibusterable, which Democrats will stand up and say it's a civil rights issue and everything else. So you can't get rid of it entirely, at least not in the current iteration. But I would suggest the Congress do this. Take a close look at what's happening over the next couple of months. If the D.C. government erects barriers to the federal government cleaning up the streets of D.C., make them vote. Make them vote time and time and time again. Because the rest of the country, if we're ever going to have cities back, from west to east, is going to look at what happened here in D.C. as an example of what can be done.
He's Donald Trump's #1 enemy in Congress, Chicago Senator Dick Durbin. And now Dick Durbin has a new scheme, a government takeover of your credit card. Today, consumers have thousands of choices in credit cards, all with equal, strong security. But Durbin's plan is less competition and less security. And that means more risk for your credit and your identity. Tell Republicans in Congress, stop Dick Durbin's takeover of your credit card before it's too late.
Ladies and gentlemen, your attention, please.
Keep the faith, hold the line, and own the libs.
It's time for our main event.
Good Thursday to you. Welcome back to the Ruthless Friday program. I am Josh Holmes, along with Comfortably Smug, Michael Duncan, and John Ashbrook, left to right across your radio dial. Typically speaking, August is a time of not a lot of political news and not a lot of yucks and fun making.
But not here on the Ruthless Friday program.
It is not here on the Ruthless Friday program. We have done, we've done better over the last couple of weeks than maybe in our history.
Yes.
And I think it's because all of you appreciate what we appreciate. And there's content every day. Lawmakers don't need to be in town in order to have political news. And when they do, they show up at cable television and everything else. And it's hilarious.
I mean, that's the thing. I think it's probably the #1 story is in between President Trump, mobilizing the police and the National Guard. Between that and Congress on recess, criminals have pretty much cleared out of D.C. I mean, things are looking pretty good.
Can we talk just for a second before we get into this? Because we're going to talk about the D.C. thing and everything else and all the reaction to it. But I find it truly incredible that Trump, and it really, we've talked about it a lot. It was superpowers always picking issues in which Democrats at the lean end of 60-40. Always.
More like 80-20.
Yeah.
But it goes to 80-20 when you're talking about like men and women's sports and things like that.
Right.
But it's always 60-40.
Yeah, automatically.
You know what I mean? And so now he's forced the opposition now to have a full week of discussion about how much crime is tolerable to the American people. Like when you spend an arm and a leg to put your family on an airplane to visit the nation's capital, is it okay that you're at what the mayor calls historically low crime levels when the likelihood of you being pickpocketed or mugged or robbed or worse is pretty high if you venture off the beaten path? Like, of course not. But that's the position that these people are in. And you see person after person on the liberal side trying to defend crime. That's a hell of a thing. They were in a position where they were defending illegal immigration. They were in a position where they were defending inflation. They were in a position where they were defending higher taxes. They were in a position where they were defending other countries taking advantage of the American worker. And they all go full-throated into India because they can't take a damn pitch.
I mean, so they find themselves at historic lows when it comes to favorability for the Democrat Party.
Yeah.
Where last year they spent saying the border is secure. Remember that? They were just saying, listen, the border's secure. I don't know why Trump keeps coming up with these lies. Right? And everyone knew. They're like, wait a minute, that's clearly a lie. Now they're saying, no, crime is gone in D.C. There's no crime in D.C. And then anybody with your own, if you visit D.C., if you're unfortunate enough, it's sad. If you visit, you will see this city has fallen apart, where anyone who's a resident knows somebody who's been carjacked or robbed.
Yeah.
Everybody knows.
But don't you feel like the liberal analyst lives a very different life than most people, and that sort of informs all these opinions they have on things when they say like the border is secure, but they live in the Acela corridor? Obviously doesn't impact them in the same way as somebody living in a border town in Texas, right?
It feels good to have a talking point when you have absolutely no interaction.
Wait, I mean, when you say D.C. is safe, but like you work from home in Montgomery County, Maryland, you know, your opinion of D.C. crime might be different. Like, all of it is very, very different.
And then I can't remember who it was that pointed this out the other day on Twitter, where Simone Sanders goes on CNN and she's tweeting that, like,
buddy, we got a clip.
This is insane,
buddy. We have a clip. Like, you don't need to summarize
all the talking heads just lying to people. Everyone is sick of it. Yeah, everyone is sick of it.
Let's start with this clip, and then we'll use that as a jumping off point. Let's clip one, please.
I think it's really important to be clear about what is going on here. And a relatively small crime problem is being used for specific authoritarian purposes that we know and understand. So let's be clear about D.C. does have one really big crime problem, which was the January 6th insurrection incited by the current president of the United States. And his first act in coming back was pardoning all the people who tried to overturn constitutional republic order in Washington, D.C. When I go to D.C., I'm not afraid of losing my wallet so much as I'm afraid of losing my vote. I'm not afraid of losing my wallet so much as I'm afraid that my children's freedom to breathe will be stolen in a world where climate change policy is non-existent. I'm afraid that the future of middle-class people will be stolen by the very things you were talking about, cutting the safety net, cutting Medicaid, cutting rural hospitals.
Right. I mean, this fucking guy. I mean, I don't know where to get started. First of all, it looks like he put his finger in a goddamn light socket. Yeah. Right? Yeah. I mean, this cat's got like straight up silver hair, wants us to take him seriously, tells us that climate change is a bigger threat than the guy who's trying to carjack, I don't know, like anybody who ventures off the beaten path. He talks about how Jan 6 was the issue.
More people get killed on a given weekend in D.C. in a shooting outside of a Walgreens than got killed on January 6th. Let's be honest about this, first of all. They've played that boogeyman for a while. Voters didn't buy it. You got to move on. Now he's like, when I show up to D.C., I'm scared my vote's going to be taken away. As we all know, you can be walking down the street and someone says, haha, your vote is now mine. What is he talking about? Like,
but without any justification whatsoever, right? I mean, it used to be the case that when you had these left-wing lunatics that would come in and say something like that, they'd at least have to point to something to say, like, well, this is how they're doing it. This guy, he doesn't even reference anything about what his concerns are. It was the most bizarre. I would encourage people. There's a full clip, which, by the way, ends with Joe Scarborough being like, oh, well, everything that the Trump administration is doing is seen through the lens of Epstein. And it's like, dude, I don't know how to tell you, like, how your cylinder of information is perverted and disgusted. But this is what you're arguing against. Like, these people are the most insane people on the face of the planet. And Donald Trump, of course, this week decided that it was within his purview to try to crack down on a very real crime epidemic, one that has peaked and valleyed several times over the last 4 years, all during the Biden administration. 23 was so bad that there were like inner city left-wing lunatics that were calling them to revoke the home rule because they couldn't believe that the city council was decriminalizing crime and the mayor was more interested in repainting Black Lives Matter Boulevard than they were at actually enforcing the law.
Sort of ironic, really, when you think about it, that she would be more interested in painting Black Lives Matter Boulevard when 96% of the perpetrators and victims of homicides in the District of Columbia are black.
Yeah.
The mayor is black.
Yeah.
The majority of the city council, black. But Donald Trump is the racist authoritarian for trying to reduce crime in D.C. Think about how whacked that is.
Listen, Michael, what you don't understand is every time someone is shot in Navy Yard, each of those bullets says climate change on the side of it. Okay?
Yeah.
You don't understand. That's why they're doing it. They're doing it because of climate change.
Well,
they're doing it because of votes. Just listen to the MSNBC.
It's a real threat.
And a lot of those carjackers, I guarantee, were inspired by Donald Trump to try and steal votes. Like, I'm guessing that must be what is inspiring all the carjackings of why no one wants to drive through Navy Yard is they're like, well, you know, I could lose my vote. Like, how do you people think you can try and convince anyone to believe you anymore? There's zero support for this. For 10 years, we went through this woke ideology being pushed on everyone of being like, oh, well, you know, Greta here says that the world's going to end in 10 years. 10 years later, the world is still here, but the crime has increased. You're like telling people who walk through D.C. and see homeless people who are clearly on fentanyl on every corner that, well, you know, you should be worrying about climate change. The public has had enough, and thank God President Trump has had enough.
No, what you don't understand, the fentanyl is a Jan 6 issue. Whenever they shoot up fentanyl, they're saying Jan 6, Jan 6.
100%.
You know what I find very funny about all this? Like Morning Joe, which is where this whole thing went down, like completely divorced from reality or whatever. Like we have more people who listen to this show before 9 a.m. when it releases on audio than watch that thing.
It's something.
On a day-to-day basis, but it still has gravitas within the Democratic movement. It still has gravitas in the progressive atmosphere to the point, like they've got like big show lights and a lot of cameras, and we're very important people. We're here talking about all this stuff. Nobody's listening. The only people who are listening are the same people that are setting Democratic agendas in Washington D.C., in New York City with Mamdani, with the situation in Minneapolis with that fucking pirate. Like I mean, it's like
The pirate.
But you know what I mean? Like
I am the captain now.
Like they're only listening to each other, and they keep taking the lean end of well staked out majority positions over and over and over.
You know where that's led them, by the way? And Chris Cillizza tweeted this out. Chris Cillizza, of all people, tweeted this out, that Democrats are at an all-time low of favorability. Their party's favorability, according to Gallup this week, is at 34%. It's gotten them nothing.
It's gotten them nothing. But I think it begin. Look, this is where you put the pedal down.
Yep.
If you're a conservative, if you believe in Donald Trump has done better job, in my view, than any president of my lifetime of consistently choosing a topic of conversation that puts Democrats in a position to having to argue the lean end of a very well litigated public discussion. Right?
And so much of this is because for so long, Republicans have been scared to have these conversations. Because for so long, the left learned that if I say the word racist, I can win any argument. If they say, oh, you want police? Racist. They said police are racist. Oh, we went through a summer of endless riots and the city's burning down across this country, but that was okay. That was okay. And if you didn't support it, you're racist. That's done. The public doesn't buy that anymore.
And I think it's important because, like, in this new Trump era, we've seen the end of DEI policies in corporate America. You know, we've seen, I think, an understanding that, like, I don't know, men playing in women's sports is an insane thing that maybe we should stop. And like those were, I think, easier wins than this, because like when you have liberal politicians who control the infrastructure in these huge urban areas.
Well, they're entrenched.
They're entrenched. And
Yeah.
so and that's why I think this is so important. Is like what Donald, and we've talked about this previously on the show, but if Donald Trump is able to succeed in Washington, D.C. and break the liberal lawlessness in urban areas, it is a blueprint for the rest of the country.
That's so important.
It's the death knell of woke in this country.
That they can't get out of.
They can't.
You know, they can't get it. You watched that Chicago mayor's situation a couple of years ago. They have like more killings than Bogota and Baghdad.
Yeah.
And yet they vote for the guy who's like, no, everything's
Absolute
good.
moron, school board.
You know, you
idiot.
got this Minneapolis situation with this Omar cat who's like in the same category, and they're going to vote him in. They're going to do so. Like, they can't take care of themselves. It's not like there is anybody who has thought that external facts matter to a progressive electorate is out of their goddamn minds. Like, they just aren't. They're not going to change it on their own. What may change their mind is whether or not you can actually increase the viability of a city. Make it great again. Make tourism great. Make it what it was supposed to be. And the only way you can do that in any municipality of any consequence across this country right now is in D.C., where the President of the United States actually has some authority.
And it should matter to you, and Ashbrook has pointed this out numerous times on the program, but like, you pay for it. Like, you may not live here,
Yeah.
but this is your city. You should be able to travel here with your family. You should be able to visit the monument. You should be safe in this city because it is the federal city. It's supposed to be the jewel of our country.
Right, and it goes beyond just the fact that it is the capital of your country. If you pay federal taxes every single year, your money goes to Washington, D.C. to the tune of $1 billion on an annual basis.
Yeah, it's true. So how's the Democrat left react? We're not done with MSNBC quite yet. This is the one you were referencing, Smug. Clip 2.
You don't think more police make streets safer?
No, Joe. I'm a black woman in America. I do not always think that more police make streets safer. When you walk down the streets of Georgetown, you don't see a police officer on every corner, but you don't feel unsafe. So what is it about talking about places like Southeast D.C., right, Ward 8, if you will, that people say, well, we need more officers to make us safe? I think we have to rethink what safety means in America.
Did he say? Was that Morning Joe who said no to more police officers in Southeast would make it safer?
Yeah, so a couple of things. Number one, I would say
These people, man.
I would say when anytime somebody on television starts a sentence with a dependent clause that is their gender and race, they're about to tell you a line of bullshit.
100%.
100%. The other thing I would point out
Also, it cuts our way when people are like, as a father of X or
Right.
a husband of
Right.
X, like whatever comes after that is just like Spinsville.
Right.
Well, the other thing I would point out to Simone Sanders, because apparently she knows nothing about Washington, D.C., but if you look at the Washington Post poll of crime opinions of the residents of D.C., I can tell you the number one cohort, the number one demographic most concerned about violent crime in D.C. is black women. Black women are more concerned about violent crime than anybody else in Washington, D.C., because they have to live it.
Yeah, they just want to live their lives. They don't want to have to look over their shoulders every single day. They're just like everybody else.
Right.
Nobody wants
It's what
crime.
happens. Like what you just said is what happens when you stop thinking of people in cylinders and you start thinking of people as people.
Yep.
The way we grew up.
And they
Right.
didn't learn their
You know?
lesson from how much of a failure the defund the police movement was, because the number one group who opposed it was black Americans.
Yes.
And like you said, that Simone Sanders, you would think, would know more about this, because there was a tweet that came out of her husband owns a restaurant and showed up to one of the community board meetings saying that outside of my restaurant, the streets of D.C. are unsafe and we're fed up with this. People are getting shot. People are getting robbed. Maybe she should talk to her husband if she wants to know what it's like. I mean, stop going on TV and lying to people, Simone.
Nah, it's a fair point. So there's a lot more that goes into the whole crime epidemic that goes well beyond D.C. You're going to get a little flavor for that, and you're going to get into some protest discussion, right? The local media loves to cover a good protest. We're going to tell you all about where that comes from right after this.
Hardworking Americans know when it's time to roll up our sleeves and get the job done. Now is the time to unleash our nation's energy, to create jobs, secure our future, and make life better, more affordable, and full of opportunity for all Americans. That's the power of America's oil and natural gas. Learn more at lightsonenergy.org. Paid for by the American Petroleum Institute.
Okay, so look, we've had a problem with D.C. that is not unique to D.C. It is basically what we see across the country. We've lamented it for a number of years here on the Variety program about their inability to help themselves at some level. But it is a perfect encapsulation. So the police chief, folks, the police chief.
I love this clip.
The police chief of Washington, D.C. was the chief equity officer.
No way.
Leading the departments in DEI efforts.
I'm shocked.
And she's now become the police chief of Washington, D.C. This used to be a thing. Like, it wasn't just when I grew up. It was I've lived here since then, in the last 20 years. It was like a pinnacle achievement for any law enforcement officer to be a police chief in a major city, metropolitan city across this country, right? If you were like the police chief of New York, D.C., L.A., Miami, like you were a thing, right? It was a crowning achievement that you earned your law enforcement bona fides to a point where people were like, man, hats off. Like, you really know how to enforce the law. This
is what happened.
This lady, not so much. Do we have any graphic or anything of who this lady is? She's wearing a 4-star rank, but she doesn't know.
I think we do have a clip, right? Clip 3?
What chain of command means, and that just became apparent this week when she was asked a question in relation to everything that the Trump administration is doing. Do we have this clip?
Tell us what the chain of command is now.
What does that mean?
Well, is it Pam Bondi speaking to the mayor, speaking to you, or how does this work?
So the executive order is clear. The president has requested MPD services in our home rule charter.
I want that to sit for a minute.
Don't know what that is.
I want that to sit for a minute. For those of you who've been involved in the military or law enforcement or anything else, the idea that the chief of police for the capital of the United States of America doesn't know what quote-unquote chain of command means?
Yeah, has to step away from the microphone. Miriam
the
Bowser
mayor
has to take
jump
over.
in and do the save.
Yeah.
Pathetic. I mean, like, if you ever wanted an example that DEI means didn't earn it, there it is.
There it is.
You have the chief of police who doesn't know what chain of command is, but they were the chief equity officer, and now they're the chief of police. Pathetic.
The fact that the chief equity officer ever existed in law enforcement is bonanzas to me. Like, I can't even imagine. Like, you either do your job or you don't. But the fact that then they're promoted to the chief of police for Washington, D.C., I mean, come on. You see, but you, again, all of you throughout the country, as you're listening to this, you look at your city that you're right next door to, and you see this. This is not unique to D.C. This is why this is an important conversation. You keep thinking that the media is trying to make this a local discussion about crime in D.C. And even, you put these Democrats out there like, yeah, I was robbed. Yeah, my friend was robbed. Yeah, my windows get broken every once in a while, whatever. But, I mean, this is it's a civil rights issue primarily, but outside of that, it's a local issue or whatever. It's not. It is. I don't care if you live in Cincinnati or Indy or Denver or Minneapolis. Like, it's happening in your neighborhood. And the reason this is an important discussion is because you're going to see it dismantled in Washington, D.C. in a way that is going to send a message to the rest of the country that you can have it one of two ways. You can have it the way that you've had it and have an uninhabitable pinnacle of your state, right? I mean, I'm from Minneapolis. You got this guy, Omar or whatever. He looks like the guy from Captain
Phillips. Yeah.
You know,
he's the captain now.
Yeah, he's the captain now, and like he's gonna win mayor of that city, and like his whole thing is like defunding cops and you know, doing what you imagine them to do. And they're going to elect him, and he's going to do what he's doing, except for the fact that you have the Twins, the Vikings, the Timberwolves, all the theater productions. You know, across the river, you've got the Minnesota Wild. You've got all kinds of – the entirety of the attractions that bring a state together are within the jurisdiction of this person. They don't give a shit. They don't give a shit. No revenue. They don't care if they shut out all the revenue that makes a city inhabitable and good and fun and whatever. What they care about is just like servicing this tiny little constituency that continues to get them elected. Except now, hopefully, at some point, you're going to get a window of evidence.
Good. Minnesota deserves it. Have you seen their cheerleaders?
I mean, listen, Denver's no better, dog.
Denver's a mess.
It's no better.
Denver's a mess.
You know?
Colorado used to be a red state, and then the same thing happened.
And don't get me started.
You got Californians who moved in, and then you legalized pot, and now look at it. You've got apartment buildings getting taken over by illegals.
And don't get me started on Cincinnati. What was it yesterday? All of a sudden, you have a whole bunch of community leaders that were saying that the guy that got his ass kicked deserves charges.
Yeah, it's a terrible situation in Cincinnati. I mean, honestly.
And their chief of police is just like this. They find like a woke middle-aged lady. Just like in D.C., this became a template across the country where they find, all right, are you a middle-aged lady willing to put DEI in practice? Look at in Cincy, she came out first and was like, "Listen, we first need to find out what the white guy said."
He's literally, that was the quote, was this white guy instigated 6 felonies.
It's
like,
just
how short was his skirt? You know, like, that's the thing. And then back to this police chief who was the equity officer. Think about how like insane and perverse it is that this person is an equity officer. And as I said earlier, 96% of the homicide victims in the district are black.
Yeah.
That woman is black. What sort of fucking equity is she doing? What is the point of any of this?
I think it unmasks the whole thing.
It unmasks it, right.
It's never been about protecting black people or white people or Hispanic people or anything else. It's all about sort of a power to just sort of shift back and forth with each other in hiring practices.
What all of this is let's be honest, is now we've seen the results of this. This has not improved outcomes for anybody. They wanted to take your eyes off the issue. It's not crime. It's racism. It's not about ending homelessness or stopping murders or muggings or cars. It's about equity and inclusion. When they were able to shift that away, then people stopped paying attention to the money. Because it's always about the money. It's
Smug.
about the equity programs that are now being funded by taxpayers and all the grants that are being given to. Because it's a money game.
Yeah, in the same way that Doge exposed the USAID grift, like I think that same thing happens in our inner cities where there's this huge cottage industry about what we really need is this new program that's actually going to stop all these kids for putting guns to the heads of people and carjacking them when they're out of school in the summer, right?
Or they pay community leaders who ultimately end up organizing votes.
Right.
Bingo.
Right? And that's look, it's a disgusting. It's unbelievable, but it's absolutely true.
That's what it is.
That is what has happened. That is what these people believe in. It is a money grift. It's the worst. You think of like the worst political scandalous towns where there was like New Orleans with Huey Long or Chicago or whatever, like Tammany Hall. This is what's happening in city after city across this country. And how does it get bootstrapped? Like, where does it go from here? Well, turns out there's some paid protests involved.
Oh, I'm shocked.
Who could have guessed?
Who could have guessed? So it turns out the D.C. paid protesters, as according to FoxNews.com, request a surge of 400% amid Trump's federal takeover of the city. According to a crowd rental company.
Amazing.
Crowd rental company.
Amazing.
That's a hell of a line of work, by the way.
Hilarious.
Crowd rental?
We need more transparency into that.
What do you think
industry.
the 401k program is on that joint? Huh? A crowd rental company? Anyway, they've seen a massive uptick in inquiries regarding services in Washington, D.C. among Trump's move to federalize police force now in the nation's capital. Right now, D.C. inquiries are up 400% compared to the same period in 2024. Crowds on Demand, CEO. I give him credit for speaking out. Like, I don't like his line of work.
No.
But I give him credit for going on the record.
If I'm him, I bet this is advertising. I bet this is advertising, and good for him to do this because he's like, listen, requests are up 400%. My company can deliver them. I've seen the polling. Dems are polling at 34%. It's tough for them to get a crowd, but they can pay me.
Well, and I also love
Get your name out there, bro.
I love how direct the name of it is. It's Crowds on Demand. Like, there isn't some innocuous name he uses for this nondescript
He's not trying
company.
to be like,
he's like, no.
Equity investment partner. No, dude, it's straight up.
I will pretend your thing is popular.
I mean, that's what they do.
Yeah.
And you
So
see
amazing.
it, like even, everyone has been covering like town halls or whatever.
Right.
This is what this is.
Yeah.
Right? And I'll tell you who's funding it. There's another story out there. Left-wing dark money mega donors, including George Soros.
Oh, no, I'm shocked.
Contribute $20 million to groups funding protests against Trump's D.C. crime crackdown.
Yeah.
Oh, that's so interesting, guys. You know what? I find it as a breath of fresh air that they stopped harassing Jewish students on university campuses to protest here in the inner city at some point, right? It's nice to take just a touch off the anti-Semitism for maybe only a month.
I mean,
People are horrible.
It's almost like every single time there is someone who's on the wrong side of an issue, whether it's like when Trump showed up in LA and started arresting illegals, and it's like, where are these groups coming from? Like, how do they all have the same T-shirts and the same signs within like 6 hours? And you saw the same thing happen in D.C. where like they had the same shirts, same branding, and you're like, every time. It's like a Soros-funded group every time.
Therein lies the cottage industry. And what I find so fascinating about this whole thing is every leftist in an inner city will tell you, okay, well, this crime is actually originating because of economic hardships, and that is the reason why kids who are out of school for the summer have to, put guns to the heads of Uber drivers, right? Mm-hmm. But like George Soros isn't giving $20 million to Anacostia in Southeast Washington, D.C. to improve their lives. He's going to put $20 million in the hands of paid protesters to advocate why Donald Trump is a racist.
Dude, it's a really good point.
And it makes you wonder if they actually think that they want to solve the problem or maybe just perpetuate the thing.
That's it. That's it. Because they've turned it into a business.
Though. It doesn't make me wonder. I know. I mean, in 20 years in this line of work, I know exactly what it is that they're up to. They don't want to help anybody's lives. They probably spent $4 billion over the last 20 years that I've been in this line of work doing exactly this. What do you think they could have done with that money and helping to educate inner city youth, helping people to get into the workforce, helping people with families and single mothers and that kind of thing? Like, they could do all that stuff. They don't.
It's always funny how they're willing to fund, like, clean needles and like places to shoot up that are safe and never like a rehab clinic.
Oh.
Almost like there's more money in keeping it going.
It is because it perpetuates the industry of the left. And that is what perpetuates the left. It is not look,
if there's no victims, they can't make money off of claiming that they're victims. Like, that's the problem. It's like, if a problem is solved, we can't be the victim anymore and we can't make money off of it.
In a country of people who are born into communities that have a reasonable shot, that get a good education, that are safe, that have the ability to consume information, can learn in a reasonably safe environment, that will perpetuate a society the left can't actually exist in. They can't. They can't exist in it. Because at that point, you will see the benefits of being able to fundamentally change your life from one thing to another. And they can't have it. You need to be reliant on the government.
Yep.
They're
That's
the
control.
people who have to be in control over everything in your life. And you'll be nothing. You'll be destitute without us, the government, trying to
You'll own nothing
work
and you'll
over
be
these things.
happy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They literally will say that.
And it makes for more predictable marketplaces, by the way, for people like George Soros, where they can bet for and against certain institutions in America, makes them richer, makes everybody else poorer. I always thought that the whole idea, and then Trump has laid to rest the idea that the Republican Party is the party of the rich. That is obviously, the exit polls alone will tell you that is gone.
Feel free to, I would recommend it, watch the Oscars. Every single person there is a Democrat, hates Trump.
Totally. But you do have to think about a lot about who is the party of the poor. And I don't mean like advocating for the poor. I mean keeping them poor.
Yeah.
Keeping people poor, keeping people destitute, keeping people concerned about safety, keeping people without education, keeping people without any sort of outside observance of how life can be lived in America to raise the expectations of your family and provide for the next generation. Who's the party of that? It seems pretty clear to me.
And that's what really bugs me. So you've got Soros who's funding these left-wing groups, and then we had right here an example. This group in Washington D.C., Free D.C., quote, fiscally sponsored special project of progressive nonprofits, Community Change and Community Change Action, brought 150 demonstrators near the White House Monday to protest Trump's plan to deploy the National Guard. A few blocks away from them, when they started, there was a shooting, and the guy ended up dying. So already, it seems like Trump's help is needed for this. It says Free DC has scheduled multiple events since Monday's anti-Trump protest, including a, quote, cop watch training. This is the other thing that just makes me so angry, is these people have spent so many years trying to poison the minds of Americans into thinking the enemy is cops, not the criminals. The enemy is cops. And like you saw Simone Sanders being like, as a black woman, I feel less safe when there's a police officer. What damage they've done to this country, brainwashing people into believing that cops are the enemies and not the solution to crime, is insane.
And it's people like look, I'm not picking specifically on Simone. Like, I know, but I think this is part of the Democratic Party orthodoxy. That's the safest thing to say. If you're a Democrat that doesn't know what to say, they don't know how to defend it, that's where you lean on. Imagine the corrosion that you've done with at least half of the electorate that listens to what you have to say when you say the police are the enemy. Like,
but what they say, what Democrats say privately, what they won't say on television, what they say privately is, I really hope somebody solves this crime issue so that we can continue doing what we've been doing. They all want somebody else to fix it, which I think is a part of the great genius of what Trump is doing, because he knows that it takes a leader to actually say, we have to get on top of crime, because Democrats who are in charge do not want to be seen as helping to stop the crime problem. They just don't.
That's the biggest Achilles heel for Dems, other than being on the wrong side of crime, and especially for elected Dems. Like, you notice Gavin Newsom doesn't want to bring up the fact that he actually did know how to solve the homeless problem crime.
You've said
this. He did it for one day.
Right.
When she came and visited San Francisco,
right.
He was like, okay, Emperor She, I will make sure this place looks great for you. And there was a day in San Francisco, like, all the people were texting me photos from there. All my buddies, they were like, I've never seen this since I've gotten to San Francisco. There's no homeless people on the streets. There's no needles anywhere. I can take my kids to the park, and we're not worried about if they sit on a bench, they'll have a needle that sticks in them. They couldn't believe it, but he only did it for She. But Gavin's not talking about that.
No, don't want to talk. They didn't go on Bannon to talk about that.
Yeah, that's like.
It's interesting.
He'll try.
Wasn't asked about it either, by the way.
He'll try any stunt in the book other than admit the fact that it can be solved, and decline is a choice.
Yeah, it really is. So listen, we've thought a lot about this, and there's a home rule component to all of this. It was passed in 1972, signed into law by Richard Nixon, that allowed the city council and the mayor to have self-governance.
Man, Nixon, I know you love him, Smug, but EPA, home rule for D.C.
Well, the EPA that he envisioned is like the one that we have right now, where they're actually worried about keeping parks and rivers clean, not the woke garbage. That's what you got to cleave out. And that's what's happening right now in this EPA.
I appreciate your defense on the EPA front.
I mean, look at Lee Zeldin. Look at Lee Zeldin.
There's any defense on
Lee Zeldin knows what to do with the EPA.
Autonomous. I don't think there is. It was a huge mistake. The truth is, we looked into it. So part of that Home Rule Act allows for the federal government to actually revoke any law that the D.C. City Council and the mayor sign into law or whatever. They can vote on a simple majority basis and just overturn it. This happened several years ago. Remember, they tried to like decriminalize crime. This happened. Republican Congress actually did it. But I will say the overturning of home rule in and of itself appears to be filibusterable, which Democrats will stand up and say it's a civil rights issue and everything else. So you can't get rid of it entirely, at least not in the current iteration. But I would suggest the Congress do this. Take a close look at what's happening over the next couple of months. If the D.C. government erects barriers to the federal government cleaning up the streets of D.C., make them vote. Make them vote time and time and time again. Because the rest of the country, if we're ever going to have cities back from west to east, is going to look at what happened here in D.C. as an example of what can be done.
Yeah, and when you appropriate money to go to D.C., as happens every single year, maybe ensure that that money is spent on keeping people safe, okay? Because it comes from everybody listening to this show who pays federal taxes every April. Maybe ensure that that money does something productive.
I have one specific call out on this, and we talked about this in the right before the Martha hit that we did, Ashbrook, because she was asking about this. One of the impediments to solving some of these issues, even with the National Guard in D.C. and the federalizing of the police department, is the issue of minor crime.
Yep.
My recommendation is if you have any pushback from the government of D.C. about adolescents committing violent crimes and charging them as adults, do it.
Yep.
That'll solve. I'm serious. I mean, like, there is a huge problem in this town of kids who are 14, 15, 16. And I saw a clip on Twitter about these kids arguing of whether armed robbery or murder one would carry more years in prison.
Yeah.
That's where we are. And if you can't start charging these kids as adults, then we're pissing in the wind.
And it's every city in America.
Yeah.
Don't think this is a D.C. problem, folks. This is happening in your backyard. And what happens here under the leadership of President Trump is going to be carried throughout the entire country. That's why we're so serious about it. So our question it relates to the protesters. Our question of the day. When you like and subscribe to the Ruthless Variety program, we read every single one of your comments. Some I like better than others, but most of them I find truly endearing. A lot of really smart stuff out there. But the question today is, what are these protesters, the paid protesters? Because I know this is like gotta be a foreign concept to an awful lot of our audience, with that you're a paid protester, like that you just like you got nothing else going on during the day. Somebody's gonna fork over $100 and you're gonna go hold a sign for something you have no idea what it is. Like, what do you think that, like, what else happens in their day? Like, what do they do for the rest of the day?
That's a great question.
Like, what do they do? Like, who are these people?
Moderate on Blue Sky, maybe.
So good.
Work for Nancy Pelosi?
Probably.
It's so good. All right, so for last Tuesday's question, what's the worst Democrat-controlled city in the country?
Great question.
We had an awesome amount of submissions on this. Really appreciate what everybody had to say. To do that, we always start with the boys.
Okay, first comment comes from Rosh Banyak, and I hope I'm pronouncing that correctly, but Rosh writes, San Francisco. With all the rivers of crap running through that place, it's the poop hole loophole capital of the country.
I'm not sure I can still.
Oh, Rosh. What a legend, old Rosh. As much as it pains me to say this, being retired Army, send in the Marines. Oh, Lee, that's for you, buddy. They can get that city cleaned up in no time, but make sure they have crayons. Wolf can attest to this.
Outstanding.
Rosh is going in on old Wolf.
Wolf, I don't know if you know Rosh. Do you? No? He seems like he knows you pretty well. It feels like that guy's got you pegged. Very good comment. Appreciate that. Duncan, what else we have?
This from Andrew Matheson. Andrew writes, Charlotte's native here, and apparently we are now the Chicago of the South. We've had too many liberal mayors and councilors, now a liberal owner of the Panther, running us into the ground. Enough is enough. We are not a liberal city. Trump and Whatley need to show the rest of the state what Roy Pooper
Feel like there's a common theme here.
has allowed to happen in our strongest city. Let them know, Smug. It's your fault.
Nope, it's
because you're the North Carolina guy.
They're absolutely right. It is Cooper, and I look forward to
No, it's not
Whatley.
Cooper. It's Pooper.
Pooper.
I look forward to Whatley holding him accountable because that guy was the attorney general, and that guy, under his purview as governor, allowed Charlotte to fall apart. It's an absolute shame. It's a wonderful town, and he is the prime reason
Roy Cooper.
problems have happened. Roy Cooper. I mean, I want Whatley to just wipe the floor with that guy. We can't have him in the Senate.
Yep. Yep. There's some added emphasis there from a North Carolinian. Smug, what else we got?
Comment 3 comes from Sally Harper, and Sally writes, fellas, the worst run blue city is by far Chicago. My husband and I grew up in the south suburbs, of Chicago. In high school, early 2000s, it was safe to take the train down to the city in the summer to go to the beach or the taste of Chicago without parents. Now we would never send our kids to do that. Decades of Democrat control and recent progressive idiocy from the likes of Brandon Johnson and Lori Lightfoot have run our world-class city to the ground. If you question their progressive policies like no cash bail, you're called a racist. That's the thing. That's what they do. I guarantee you the residents of the south side of Chicago would welcome the help of President Trump and the National Guard. That's it. I mean, that's the
What
whole
did they used
thing.
to call it? Was it Beetlejuice?
Yeah.
That they
Lori
called it?
Lightfoot.
Yeah.
I mean, that lady looked like...
With the bug eyes.
I mean, it was...
She looked like a corpse.
I can't believe somebody like trotted into the ballot box and felt good about that ballot.
I mean, the wild thing is
You know,
that-
they're like, yeah, she's got to figure it out.
And then immediately afterwards, they elected someone to her left. It's insane.
I mean, it's just... Can you, man? I'm always surprised. You know, been around politics for a long time, and like they send all kinds up here, and you figure they reflect some component of the electorate. But every once in a while, somebody shows up, and you look at them, and you're like, "Come on!" Like this is like you've all collectively, at least half of you, more than half of you, have collectively decided this is the best you can do.
I mean, that's the thing is like
Lori Lightfoot.
They were like, let's stop electing a progressive activist who deals with the teachers union. Let's just hire someone from the teachers union. Let's rob ourselves even harder.
There's a guy on the D.C. City Council who's like been indicted for bribery.
yeah.
He has a trial in 2026, and he got reelected.
He's like going to the brig, and people are like, yeah, that's our guy. But you know what I mean? It doesn't even extend just to city councils and stuff. You see it in Congress occasionally. You look at somebody, and you're like, that guy has literally no ability to persuade anyone of their point of view, which is the whole point of being a legislator. Like you can be a president, a governor, a mayor, or whatever, make decisions. But like ultimately you elect everybody else to try to come up with ideas and then persuade everyone else.
Yeah.
And like you see their personality and their look, it's like, come on, man. Like, there's no way that's the best you can do.
It can always get worse.
This is the most, like, charismatic person you're sending us up here? It's embarrassing.
It is. It is. And the cities are suffering because of it.
I feel like you guys are holding back on that.
I'm not holding back.
I mean, you see it. It happens everywhere. We see it all the time. People are just like, I don't understand. You got to pay some attention to this sort of thing. If you're a voter, like, don't send the worst. Don't send the worst.
Well,
It's awful.
I think the problem is Democrats are built on machine politics. There is no individual excellence that goes into being a Democrat.
Like
who can
Maxine Waters. Who
Right.
the hell is she going to persuade to do anything she wants to do?
Product of the machine.
Yeah.
Over and over
That's
and
it.
over again. That's all they are.
I guess that's right. All right. Couple of things. We're going to get more into. There's a bunch of news this week that dealt with the whistleblower thing with Schiff, FBI, or whatever. We're going to hopefully book some interviews and have a larger discussion of all that. You've probably seen an awful lot of news about it. We have strong opinions, but you've heard them. I mean, if you're a listener of the Ruthless Friday program, I feel like we bird-dogged this real early before the evidence all came out. We're not going to bore you with a whole bunch of that today. but know that we're coming back to it with some additional points you're not going to get anywhere else, either later this week or next week, that will help amplify that. Is that fair, fellas?
Yeah.
I do think that the lightning round is in order.
Great idea.
But I also think we got to play a game.
It's about time.
Because it's Thursday.
Mm-hmm.
And Thursday, we always play King of the Hill.
Yep.
King of the Hill, the signature game on the Ruthless Variety program. Smug, I think you're our defending champion.
That's right, with Jen Rubin.
Jen Rubin. And I'm judge. Holmes is bailiff. Ashbrook, who are you bringing into the game?
Today's challenger is Cheri, my Cheri.
No!
This is going to be a battle of titans. Battle of titans. These are, I think, maybe, if you look at the whole history of the game, the two most formidable.
Celebrated.
I wish we still had T-Rec to actually tally that up, because we had a couple of years there where, they're still making up ground, but this is, in recent years, one of the most formidable matchups that I've ever had.
100%.
I can't wait to get started. Let's go ringside.
Ladies and gentlemen, your attention, please. It's time for King of the Hill. In the red corner, fighting from her own Twitter account, Commie Cheri Jacobus. And now, in the blue corner, fighting formerly from the Washington Post and current champion of the world, Jennifer Bahrain Worms Rubin.
Well done. Well done.
Fantastic. All right, Smug, you got to go first.
I will instruct the champion.
Exhibit 1, please. This is Jen Rubin going after Trump for trying to end crime. Basing such unprecedented action on the blatant lie that crime in D.C. is soaring underscores that our democracy is under assault.
Hell yeah.
To write this off as a distraction misses the danger of the moment, the potential for unbridled deployment of the military for domestic policing.
Very conservative take.
I love it.
That's good.
Ashbrook, what do we got?
Cheri Jacobus on a different type of crime. Exhibit 13, please, Wolf. ICE agents are just disgusting fat schlubs trading their MAGA red hat for face masks and the chance to work out their mommy issues by beating the shit out of brown people just because Trump says it makes them real, quote, men.
Man, I mean,
dude, she's just a cheat code, man.
She really is.
She looks at every narrative that the left is building on Blue Sky or Twitter, and she looks at everything that's out there on the field of play, and she's like, how can I make this worse? It really is a singular skill of hers and hers alone, and for that reason, Cheri wins round one.
It's hard to disagree.
An insane take.
The challenger will rise and present exhibit number 2, please.
Will it be a 2-round knockout?
Okay. Cheri Jacobus, second round, exhibit 10, please. And she is quote tweeting a story about the D.C. law enforcement. And she says Trump gets a few morons to sign on and then pressures them into committing small crimes for him, drawing them in so they are forced to commit bigger, more serious crimes for him. Right, Bongino and Cash? I see prison in your future. This is a former Republican consultant, Cheri Jacobus.
I think I got this one covered.
Okay.
I feel like there's an opening.
Let's see.
Exhibit 7, please. Jen Rubin, why does Trump hate Texas? From the Houston Chronicle, Trump orders new census that excludes immigrants and could cost Texas billions. Of course, like all libs, she excludes those immigrants are illegal. Because, obfuscating that is the whole grift of the left right now, being like, oh, no, all immigrants. No, it's illegals. And this was the former conservative writer for the Washington Post being like, no, count illegal immigrants in the census. What has happened?
I do love the Houston Chronicle weighs into immigrants without decisively talking
Isn't that
about
insane?
how they're illegal immigrants.
Well, I also love that Jen Rubin thinks that, if maybe we have an accurate census in Texas, Texas is itself going to lose out on money. Like, we aren't going to also be running the numbers in California. Or you know what I mean?
Like 15 other states?
No, Texas is screwed.
No, it's just Texas.
Oh, that's good. This is a tough one. Can I get Cheri's up again real quick? I just
Yeah,
wanna
that's
refresh
Exhibit 10.
A second
my
look for
memory.
the jurist.
I'm going back to my quarters.
Exhibit 10. There we go.
Approaching the bench, he's going to lay eyes on what we see. And what is the conclusion here?
Yeah, I think the issue for me is that Cheri, at the end of that tweet, is prognosticating prison in the future for Bongino and Kash Patel.
Perhaps I could enlighten the jurist who I see is struggling over this with a not often done but frequently allowed reading of the quote tweet. What is it that she's quote tweeting? Because it seems to me like there could be some Epstein-related
Is there an explanation
piece.
for going to 11? I'm just trying to understand that component of it.
I will.
Let's read it. Let's
I will read
the
it.
quote
This
tweet.
is from someone named Dr. Jeff Grammer tweeting, "Let's hope law enforcement gets to the root of the rot causing all that crime in D.C., starting with this place," pointing to a picture of the White House.
it's
Okay.
It's okay.
Yeah, see, I mean, that for me, that's enough. I think it's a 2-round knockout for Cheri Jacobus. Sorry, Smug.
I wish I could have read some of the other submissions. I really do.
A controversial. You were saving some?
I had some nukes.
I mean, that's the thing.
Yeah.
Is like it felt like the second round he was just teasing out the like least powerful thing he had to come back with the third round. But like, I mean, Cheri is just. There's a reason she's an all-star.
Well, it paves the way for her to have like 3 or 4 more weeks.
The momentum off that first one, it's like it's hard to fight back.
Yeah, it's tough.
Well-earned victory. Good work,
Well-earned
Ashford.
victory. All right, so a couple other things in the lightning round.
Yes.
You all saw that Jimmy Kimmel said he's like getting Italian.
Yeah, he's Italian now.
So late night host, this is from Fox News Expo.
The reverse Vito Corleone.
It's staunch Trump critic Jimmy Kimmel. I imagine the board probably has something to say about this.
Mamma mia.
Jimmy Kimmel has secured Italian citizenship.
Amazing.
Oh, no. And he might be packing his bags to move to Europe. Yeah. What's going on is as bad. This is a quote from Jimmy. What is going on is as bad as you thought it was going to be. It's so much worse.
It's amazing.
Mamma mia.
There it is.
I mean, like, you know, he sees the writing on the wall. Like, late night has become an absolute failure as these people have just turned into a bunch of, like, liberal advocates. Him, what's the glasses guy on CBS? Colbert's already toast.
This guy.
I mean, they turned late night into just, like, lib crying hour. Meanwhile, Gutfeld, it says right here, I wanted to pull up the stat. He's increased his show audience by 57%. Gutfeld's the king of late night because he actually tells jokes. Like, imagine that.
No, dude. He increased Fallon's audience by 57%.
When he showed up on that one episode? Okay, so, like, he's even doing charity cases for
you know what I mean?
other shows.
Like, Fallon's the
that is
only one.
Like, good for Gutfeld. He's doing charity cases.
Like,
for the other
Fallon's the
shows.
only one. He's tied at the hip to the rest of these falling rocks.
Amazing.
But he's trying to do a show, and he recognizes that Gutfeld is, like, dominating the medium now, so he has him on the show, as one would, as one used to do when you had late-night comedy. He's very funny. And his show went up 57% as a result of it.
Yeah,
I mean,
I think the lesson here is you can't just do Democrat talking points in late night and expect that your show's going to be good.
But, like, why Italy? Like, why does he want to go to Italy?
Seriously.
Is he even Italian?
No. Kimmel?
It doesn't feel Italian.
Not enough vowels.
Jeez, it's just like this guy.
Maybe he went to an Olive Garden and loved it.
Yeah.
You know,
think?
maybe he just didn't want the breadsticks and salad to end. Maybe he literally
They're
just
endless.
wanted to go to. Maybe he just likes it.
Does he have, like, family and waste removal?
I
don't know.
He could.
I mean, it's all possible. Anyway, so that's our late night piece. This one, folks, I have a feeling is going to elicit some attention. There was a story in the New York Post about British cops, okay? They wore jogging outfits. Do we have a visual? Let's pop this up. Okay. All right. So British cops wore jogging outfits to elicit catcalls and then arrested some men who hit on them, according to a report. And this is from the New York Post. All right. From catcalls to the doghouse, female cops in England went undercover as joggers wearing tight-fitting clothes in a bid to elicit catcalls, and then arrested some of the men who hit on them, according to a report. The Surrey Police Department created a trial task force, which lasted about a month, led to 18 arrests, which offenses like sexual assault, harassment, theft. Interesting. I want to get to that in a second. The Telegraph reported female officers were sent during rush hour to hot spots where open sexual harassment of women is commonplace and pretend to be joggers, according to this report. We have some thoughts.
I had no idea that British men were this horny. I thought their women were ugly.
Oh. Can we pop up this thing again? All right, so this is what they're doing. I mean, I wouldn't say that these are like dime pieces by any stretch of the imagination.
I saw another image. I found another image. Can we get the other image that I found of a cop?
Oh, hold on. Okay.
So here's
No.
This is for the folks on YouTube.
Whoa.
Okay. All right. Hold on. We have to get into a meta-analysis of our production meeting here at the Ruthless Variety Program because Smug insisted.
I don't want that two in photo. We don't need the picture-in-picture here. Get rid of the picture-in-picture. There it is.
He wants to show the asset.
No, I think it's fair for people to see what the news is.
They want to see the news. Okay, so in our production meeting, it became very clear that while this was shown in the Twitter thread of this story about the catcalling in Great Britain.
This was the New York Post thread. Okay.
Yeah, this was in the thread, I believe. But that this wasn't actually associated with the catcalling campaign. And clearly, if you look on the upper right-hand corner, you'll see a flag from, I believe, the Netherlands. Is that correct? Yes.
Oh, so this is a Dutch cop?
This is just a Dutch dime piece.
Which, by the way...
And Smug is like, no, include it.
Everybody in the Netherlands would be in prison if that was the entrapment.
Here's my thing is, I want to imagine what the, like, discussions are like back at the police house after, like, you know, people have had their shifts. And one lady's like, man, I got like 10 people who catcalled. What are the other gals like who are like, I didn't get anybody?
You think it's
you
like
know
it becomes a
like,
war?
What's happening there? Like, I mean, are some of the gals being like, listen, why am I not getting any arrests?
Well,
like,
I've also
catcalls.
wondered.
Is it that like
we wondered here openly on the Variety program as we were talking about the story about what, like, I mean, you understand when you go, like, if you're in New York, New Jersey, or whatever, and you have this situation,
you got Italians.
Like,
they're
gonna let me see the, you know, I mean, you know what that sounds like. Right? We all know. I mean, it's in every movie. You know what that sounds like. What does it sound like in Britain?
This is such a great question.
Yeah.
I mean, what do they I say, quite scrumptious, huh? You know, like, you wouldn't be a constable, would you? I can't even do a British accent.
Excuse me, ma'am. That is a fine-looking, well-proportioned derriere you have. What's a cat call?
Hello, love.
That's probably it. That's probably it.
It's a Cockney attack.
But back to like what Smug was saying about like maybe there's a little competition among the women in the police department to get catcalled. Because I look at that woman from the Dutch police department, and I mean, she could be catcalled in a burlap sack. I mean, she's absolutely beautiful. And you have to wonder if maybe this whole thing is a ruse from some of the women in the police department to be like, I think I can get catcalled too.
Oh, you mean they're like...
I mean, they're doing a whole entrapment scheme.
Oh, this is entrapment. You think this is an extension of how much women hate each other? They're like setting the other women up?
I don't know. All I'm suggesting, perhaps, is that these women who are complaining about it a lot maybe kind of want it.
Oh, no.
I'm just saying that maybe they just want to be able to arrest a couple of guys and be like, how dare you? You know what I mean?
Well, it's a wild attack on free speech is what it is.
That's what I'm saying.
Can I also say this is like a wild waste of resources?
Yes.
It's like if you want to catch sex pests, there's something called grooming gangs in England.
Right.
I mean, it's a open and shut case. If you actually want to do something about this, This is the stupidest use of. You don't need to go undercover and do a sting. There's probably 50,000 people you could interview, get names, and start handcuffing people immediately if you want to catch sex pests. You're trying to do your stupid BS. This is just women trying to fight each other in the police station.
Is that what this is?
100%.
I
want to
stand
be
with
like
you, Smug.
They're like, I'm sick of Sarah's bullshit. Let's act like this is a sting. She's going to get out there. No one's going to catcall her, and we're all going to make fun of her for it. We'll be like, beat Sarah. It's beat Sarah at it again. Not getting catcalled.
Not getting catcalled.
That's what this is about. You know?
This is women on women violence.
It is. 100%.
That's what it is.
That's what's happening here. I'm glad we got to the bottom of it here in the Ruthless Friday program.
Well, you can always trust 4 men to figure out
Yeah.
what's going on with women.
And you can always count on the last third of the show to provide you with something you hadn't heard before.
We'll tell you the truth.
I love it. Okay, listen, fellas, I'm just looking through this. I think we've done a hell of a job on a Thursday.
Yeah, this is terrific.
I think we've gotten through it a whole bunch. We are ready, primed for a good Friday episode. We're going to leave you with some laughs and hopefully something to think about. And then we got a bunch of stuff and guests and whatnot for next week. Hopefully can put a little bit of a finer point on some of the things that we're talking about. We don't like to just give you what everybody else has been saying.
Mm-hmm.
You know, like why re-report the news? That's not what we do on the Ruthless Friday program. So there's some segments that people are talking about that we're going to get somebody who can give us let's advance the story a little bit. And we'll do all of that in the coming days. I thank you for joining us. With that, fellas, I think we did it.
I think so. Absolute banger of an episode. Gentlemen, remember, we asked you, what are these protesters doing during the rest of the day? The paid protesters in D.C. Looking forward to your thoughts. So until next time, minions, keep the faith, hold the line, and own the libs. We'll see you Friday. Stay ruthless.